Hey y'all, happy Sunday. I'm here live. Jasper is in Utah, so I'm just going to be here to answer any questions or have any conversations about real estate. I can break down a few things going on in our business. Yeah, real estate investing. I am as just before I jump down here, I'm deep in the weeds with our taxes for 2024. That's not glamorous, but it's a part of real estate investing. We have hired two bookkeepers now, and we still have not found a bookkeeper to properly do our books. I don't know why people are having such a hard time. I think it's partly because we have a bunch of owner finance deals and we have some subject twos, and so that makes it trickier. But still, you would think we'd find a bookkeeper who can handle that stuff. So I'm basically using Chat GPT and going back through our books and uploading stuff to Chat GPT and telling them to fix it or help me fix it. And that's what I've been doing for the last week, digging into the books, which is not my strong suit, but I'm decent with numbers. That's why I'm in real estate. But anyway, other things I'd rather be doing, but it is part of the business, and we want to get our numbers accurate. And the more accurate our numbers are, the more we can see where we can save money, where we can make more profit by saving money, and how we want to spend our money going forward. And as I've shared on the podcast previously, we've had a challenging last couple of months in my business. We just hit a really low spot as far as revenue and closed deals and everything, and probably the worst one we've had ever. Our business has gone kind of steadily up for since 2021, our first full year, and then this year we've dropped off. And we could go into reasons why I think that might be, but we've had to tighten our belts and cut expenses on things, and I've let go three people from the team. So we were at eight people, and now we're at five, which feels good. We have a strong team now, but it's been a very rocky, bumpy road for 2 months, I would say, and now we're starting to pull out of it. We closed. Well, we no, we haven't closed anything recently, but we sold five deals in the last 3 weeks or something like that, which is great. We've we ramped up our dispo process, and we've just really been leaning on text blasting cash buyers, which has worked great. We've been using investor base to pull the cash buyer list, and then we mix that with our cash buyers from our CRM, which is Podio, and then we upload that to Smarter Contact, which is our skip tracing platform, and we text blast those buyers with a flyer for the property that we have for sale. And it's worked really well. We're getting like between a 10 and 20% response rate from buyers, and we're getting interest in the properties that are good, and we're getting good feedback on the properties that aren't good, and which is a blessing. Like, you don't want to be wasting your time on properties that are not going to sell. So it's great when we can get multiple buyers giving us similar feedback on a property, and then we can use that to go back and get a price reduction or cancel the property if we need to. But anyway, that's kind of where we've been over the last couple of months, just rocky road. And it feels like we've been in an airplane, like plummeting towards Earth. And then we pulled out of the nosedive, and now we're gradually going up. We've got, like I said, positive results in Dispo, five sold in the last 3 weeks. And then we've got more lead flow. We've ramped our SMS back up to 5,000 per day, which is, it's not a lot compared to other people. Jasper does a lot more than that, but it gets us 50-ish leads per week generally when we're doing that, sometimes more, sometimes less. But yeah, so we're pushing more leads. I know that Lucky, our SMS blaster and all around versatile utility guy, did I think he did 10 offers that he sent out yesterday on Saturday. So that's good. I think that, I don't know how many he sent out throughout the week, but we're probably sent out 15 or 20 offers for the week, maybe more. And that's a lot of analysis for Krisa, who is our lead manager. So it's good to see the lead volume ramping up. We did a direct mail campaign that dropped the beginning of, when did that drop? This is September. So I think it dropped like the first couple of weeks in August, and the response rate was really, really bad. Like just a handful. We sent out almost 4,000 pieces, and I think we got 10 or 15 leads maybe, and a couple of those were DNCs, so we got to look at direct mail and see why that didn't work, which types of direct mail we should maybe try. um, Deal Machine has a feature where you can send postcards from within their app, and we've just started playing with Deal Machine, so we might do some small scale postcard campaigns, just small local neighborhood ones in places where we've already closed deals or we know we have good results, rather than doing these bigger 3 or 4,000 piece blasts where you're spending 80 cents per piece. So if you're sending out 4,000 pieces, you're spending $3,000, and if you get whatever 5 or 10 good leads out of that, it's rough. Can be rough. The good thing about direct mail is that when you do get those 5 or 10 leads, usually they're pretty motivated and they've called you, so it's more like inbound. So that's nice. And I'm an introvert, so that's how I started my business, is with direct mail, because then I didn't have to make as many cold calls, or I didn't know about SMS marketing at that time. So sending direct mail was great for me. I would just send out 1,000 or a couple thousand pieces of mail, get some leads back, get incoming calls from those people, and a lot of those leads would convert. It's changed a lot since 2021, 22, when I was doing exclusively direct mail, and we dropped off and we went to SMS because it was a lot lower cost per lead and it was working really well. I think SMS still works well, but I think that a lot more people are doing SMS now, so a lot of the sellers are getting tired of being blasted by text, but we're still getting good leads with it. So that's our primary lead generation source. But if you're here listening in, drop a note in the comments. I'm just here solo today. Jasper's in the mountains in Utah. So I can check in about business. I can share about our platforms that we're using. I can answer any questions, or we can talk about any topics. I'm just wide open today. So, I can run through a few things about our business like I've been doing. Um, or if you have, stuff that's on your mind, then drop it in here, drop it in the comments, and let's talk about it. Hey, Denzel, good to see you back. Denzel's here from Detroit. So we talked about some SMS last week. And if you got any more questions about that, we can definitely jump into that. I was just touching on SMS a little bit. We send out, about 5,000 per day. And so that's about 60,000 per week. And we're getting somewhere between, I'd say, 30 and 50 leads. All this is off the top of my head because my team members gather the KPI reports, and our Podio is not solid enough for me to just pull up stuff within Podio. Unfortunately, we're in the process of looking at new CRMs or possible replacement CRM where I can see my KPIs more clearly without having to dig through our Slack threads or our various things in Podio and manually pull stuff out. But anyway, sending about 60K per week and getting uh, you know 30 to 50 leads, I would say, maybe 60 sometimes. So what's that? 1% or 0.1% of leads. Somebody can do the math if you're listening. But yeah, from those leads, generally we're offering about 50% of those. So if we're getting 50 leads, we're making about 25 offers. And then out of those offers, usually we're converting roughly 1 in 20 into contracts, 1 to 15, 1 in 20 out of contracts. So if we send out 60,000 SMS in a week and we're getting, like I said, say we're getting 50 leads, 25 offers, and that's 1 to 2 contracts per week on average at that volume, right? And then out of those contracts, historically, we've only closed about 50% of those. And so don't count your chickens before they're hatched, because contracts don't mean closings, they mean contracts. And sometimes there are title issues, sometimes there are seller issues, buyer issues, whatever. I think our close rate is a little bit lower, potentially because we do primarily vacant land, and land, I think, tends to have more title issues and issues, with heirs and things like that. Land just gets passed down, and sometimes it's kind of loose, and sometimes there aren't wills in place. And we just had to cancel one this week, which really hurt because we had it sold and it was a 20K profit on this vacant lot, and which is a big profit on a vacant lot for us. In general, our average vacant lot profit is like 9K, I think, this year, or about 9,000 on the vacant land deal. So this was a 20,000 vacant land deal profit. And we worked the seller was cooperative, and we worked through the family tree and tried to find these different errors, but there was like a quit claim deed that was, causing us to not be able to get title insurance with the buyer. And then there was also a break in the title somewhere a couple of decades back. And when you have that stuff, it's really tough to sell that. If the buyer wants to, in this case, the buyer's a builder and he wants to build a house on there and then resell it. If he can't get clear title and then deliver clear title to the person who's going to buy his house, then he's not going to close on it, right? And I've shared here, we've been able to do a couple of those without good title, um, because the person was going to live there, and it's like, well, we can't get a perfect title for you, but we can transfer it to you, and if you're okay with that, then great. And I've done that a couple of times, but it usually only works if the person is an individual buyer who's just planning on holding on to that property and living there long term. But yeah, anybody got any questions or anything? Denzel, you can connect your Podio CRM to your lead source deal machine and also smarter contact, right? Yeah, almost every platform now has the ability to integrate with your CRM, right? So if you have Podio, you just go into your smarter contact, or your like, I know you have smarter contact, Denzel, because you shared that with me last week, I think. But yeah, there's in smarter contact, you can create what's called a zap. So you either need to get a tech person who knows how to do zaps, or just teach yourself how to do zaps. It's not that hard. You get a Zapier account, Zapier, and you can sign up for that for free. And the free Zapier account allows you a certain number of zaps per year. It's a pretty generous amount. I don't know what it is, 5 or 10, 15. But then once you have the Zapier account, you create a zap from Smarter Contact to Podio. So in our business, Lucky, who does our SMS marketing, he, when he has a lead that's a good lead, he can just click a button now within Smarter Contact, push to CRM, and you can create a form in your platform, whether it's Smarter Contact or Deal Machine or Launch Control, wherever it is, that tells that platform what to push. You map it to your fields in Podio for your seller leads, and then when you get a lead in your platform, you can just click and push it to your CRM. And some of the platforms will actually do those zaps for you. I don't, you can ask them if they'll do it. I don't know how many have native integrations. I think there are some platforms where you actually don't even have to do a zap, but most of them you have to do a zap. So that's the benefit of CRMs. Like, we're looking into Resimpli, which has its pros and cons, but everything is within Resimpli, so you don't have to do as many integrations. They have the list stacking, they have the text blasting and stuff. I guess we'd still have to push our smarter contact leads there and other leads. So it's always going to be a thing. But some CRMs have more all all inclusive stuff, so you have to do less integrations with platforms. It's pretty easy though. It's once you learn how to do zaps, it's not that hard, and you can use, of course, ChatGPT to, or any AI, to walk you through how to do the zap. And if you're not using AI in your real estate investing business yet, I highly recommend it, and really just start to get creative about what you can do with AI in your business, because there's so much you can do with AI right now. Like I just shared at the top of this, I'm doing our taxes because our bookkeeper totally dropped the ball on our books, and they've been working on them for all year, and then the accountant said they weren't ready. But I'm downloading reports from our QuickBooks, uploading them to ChatGPT, taking documents out of our Google Drive, taking a report from our Podio with our closed deals. I'm putting it all into ChatGPT and saying, hey, get my taxes together. Tell me what needs to be done to get this organized. And they're doing all the work. So that's huge. And, you can do it. We talked about this last week a little bit. You can do it with your markets, right? You can go on there and be like, where should I be marketing for vacant land in this state or this market that I'm in, or whatever. Like, there's just so many uses for it now. You can probably do comps within there. You can do, what's the status of the real estate market, et cetera, et cetera. So I just recommend that anything where you think you have to do a bunch of work, ask yourself if AI can do it for you first before you do it, because a lot of times it can. Even some of the list filtering stuff it can do for you. Smaller chunks though. I was doing a big list from our Podio and trying to filter it to upload it to Resimpli on a trial, and I had to do it in chunks of 200 at a time because it couldn't handle the bigger chunks. But yeah, Denzel, you got anything else? I know you're trying to get your SMS working. So if you got any questions on that, let me know. I just did a little bit on SMS, text marketing. So talked about our dispo a little bit. I talked about where we're getting our lists and what we're marketing. Bookkeeping, taxes, owner finance deals. This is top of mind for me because I've spent the last 2 weeks setting up our owner finance platform on GeekPay and getting all of our clients onboarded there. We have some delinquent owner finance buyers, so we're like sending them notices and stuff. Um, if you've done any courses on land investing, a lot of land investors, like I did Jack Bosch's course when I started, and that's one of his big exit strategies is you do owner financing, because then you're making some cash up front, and then you're getting payments over time, so you're getting consistent cash flow, which is nice. But then you're also making compound interest, which, if you know about compound interest, if I sell a property for $20,000 and they pay it off over a number of years, I'm going to make 25 or 30, given the interest. And usually we charge 10% interest on our land installment deals. So it's a nice way to make extra income and just have some consistent cash flow. We get a few grand per month. I don't know what it is right now, but we get a few $1,000s per month on our land deals. I think we have 9 currently active. They're not all land. We have a couple of subject twos that we bought the property subject to, and then we financed, owner financed on top of that. So it's kind of a wrap, but we get payments on those. So I guess 2 subject twos and 7 vacant land is what we have right now. And a couple of people paid us off this year. So we had 9 vacant land going. But we always have a few of them. And one of the things with the vacant land deals for owner financing that we practice is, like, if we get a piece of property under contract for 5,000 and we think we can sell it for 15 or 20, we ask the buyer to bring in 5,000 down, and then we're not really coming out of pocket, right? We're just they're paying for the cost of the property, and then they're paying the rest off over time. So that's generally how we do our owner finance deals. And depending on what market you're in, some markets you can buy pieces of land for $1,000 or 2,000, 3,000, whatever. So you can have that person come in and put that money down, the amount that you're paying for it, and then you're not really coming out of pocket on that. So, and you're making money long term. It's a good exit strategy. Denzel says, when I pulled a list recently, both land and houses, I noticed that there was not much equity. That will probably be attractive to buyers. Any parameters you suggest I can pull to make the numbers work? Yeah, I mean, just pull high equity lists. You've got to put that filter in when you're pulling your list, like high equity. Most platforms where you're pulling lists will have, a slider or a range where you can put in equity, and, you just want to put in like 70 to 100% equity or something. So you have high equity if you're doing houses, right? Or if you're doing land. And the other filter, if you're doing land, I do out of state, out of county, because you get more motivated people. But yeah, for the equity, you want to use that as one of your filters to make sure you're getting high equity. If you have any low equity motivated sellers, that's a subject to candidate or possibly a novation candidate. So if you have those and you want help with them, reach out to me. We can JV on them. I like to do sub twos, and I like to look at deals where you have a motivated seller with not a lot of equity. Sometimes those are good for subject to. So yeah, if you run across those, let me know, and we can try and work them together if you want. Or yeah, send them to me. I can send you a referral fee if we close it or something. But I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, just clarify the question. I'm not sure if I answered what you were asking. But what else? I guess we could jump on some of these platforms and look if it helps. I don't know. I think our Zap is actually currently broken on Smarter Contact, the one that you asked about, because we let our operations manager go, whose job it was to do the Zap, and then the Zap broke, and I haven't fixed it. But yeah, what else? I talked about owner finance deals. I just wrote a few things down here I'd talk about. But yeah, I think that's generally the state of what's going on in business. So if anybody's on here and you need help with anything, or you have any questions, or you have a topic you want to talk about, shout it out here in the chat and we'll jump on it. And I may not stay on here for the full hour if we don't have a lot of questions or stuff because I don't have any big presentation planned. Just thought I'd jump on here and see if anybody needed help or had questions or anything. Uh, yeah. So I guess I could. What can I share? What can I share that's going to help with platforms or anything? I don't know Deal Machine much, so I can't walk through that. But I've got investor base. If anyone wants to know about that, I got Podio. We could walk through a little bit. I've got what else can we do? Prop Stream. I could talk about Prop Stream, comping properties there. Propwire and comping properties. We could comp properties on Zillow if you want to do that. And Smarter Contact, we could look at Smarter Contact and how to run a campaign. I'm not really on top of that too much because, like I said, I have a full time guy who does the SMS, but we can jump on there and look at it if it's helpful. Uh, do we do paid mentorship by chance? Uh, we don't really do that much. I mean, yeah, we just kind of do this podcast and then open it up for questions and try and support people. I think Jasper doesn't really want to do one-on-one stuff because he's just slammed with his business, and I'm in a similar place. But we're always happy to help out as much as we can and just answer questions on the podcast. You can shout out comments if you're midweek and you have something. Shout it out on the comments in the last episode. We see that stuff. We'll answer it. You can reach out to us on social media. We both have a website. Jasper has social media stuff. He's on Facebook a lot. So, we're really just happy to help people. We don't necessarily need to do paid mentorship. And I think neither one of us is really looking to do that. I'm not trying to shoot you down, Denzel. It's just, priorities, right? But yeah, if we can help, we want to help. So let me know or let us know how we can help. Shoot your questions to us on the various platforms and we will answer them as best we can. Try and help you along. Um, and there are a lot of people who do help, on a regular basis. Matt Larson is one guy that we recommend. And then we talked about if you go on Propwire and you do that, the $99 Propwire Gold, Jerry Norton is a really experienced real estate guy who likes to teach and has a lot of great knowledge. And that's, $99, and he has a weekly mastermind on that, I believe. And similar to Matt Larson, his is called, what's his called? Deal Lab. But you find him Real Estate Matt is his handle, I think. And he's been doing it for 20 years and he is very knowledgeable and he does a mastermind every week. And he's got resources and stuff. So recommend him. And, there's lots of other great people out there teaching and mentoring. Do you ever go for deals that this is from Denzel? You ever go for deals that low value, meaning that the lot is worth only 5K and you try and get it under contract lower, let's say 2K? Would you look at that as being too low? That's just up to you. The lot is worth 5 and you can get it for 2. So yeah, if you can get somebody to pay you 5 and making a spread of 3 feels good to you, then you do it, right? It's just um, as I've been going along in business, in the beginning, I was going to do anything, right? If I was making 1 or 2 or 3 grand, it was just proof of concept and being like, yeah, man, I just made 2 or 3 grand on this. And that's great because before I did this, I was a carpenter and an artist and stuff. And, so I wasn't making a ton of money. I was making 3 or 4 grand a month. So if I could get 2 or 3 grand on a deal, I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. It's easy money and a nice chunk. But then, as I went along in business, I raised my minimum standard. So like, we don't really want to do a deal in general. We're saying no to deals where we can't make at least 8 on vacant land. But if it seems like a good deal and we can make 5 every once in a while, we'll still do it. We don't want to turn away money, but just, it takes the same amount of work to close a deal that's going to pay you 2,000 as it does to close a deal that's going to pay you 10,000, right? So if you get too many, for me, if I get too many deals that are going to pay me 2,000, then we're using all our team's resources to do a bunch of deals paying us 2,000 where we could use those same resources to close, $8 to $10,000 deals or 12 or 15 or more, right? So it's just, I would say if you're just starting out, Denzel, get that proof of concept, just get the things under contract and try and sell them and get your reps in and, get something closed. I don't know. Have you closed anything yet? But if you haven't, you want to get it in your body. You want to feel the confidence that comes from having closed a deal or closing multiple deals or seeing you can repeat the process if you've already closed one, right? So I would say, yeah, for in the early stages, anything where you can make a profit, go for it. And then as you get more successful and you have more deals closing and um, then you can start to go, oh, well, I'll raise my minimum standard. We don't want to do anything that's less than 5, or we don't want to do anything that's less than 7 or whatever. And you can raise your standard gradually as you go along. Yeah, so you want to just get proof of concept if you haven't closed anything yet. Denzel says no, not yet. So can I give you an address to comp? Yeah, are we doing land or are we doing house? Just let me know and we'll go for it. Um, and I can grab an address to comp in here too. I just that one was a dead end. Yeah, do you want to drop an address in and comp it? You can go for it if you want. Okay, we'll drop that in and we'll start with, so you want to do free tools on this, Denzel? You want to just be doing Propwire and Zillow to start? Do you have any subscriptions to comping tools? I use Investor Base all the time. That's why I'm asking, but that's like 250 a month. It's great, but you can do the same thing on Zillow or on Propwire. You can get a lot of good information. Those are both free comping tools. So we'll start with Zillow and we'll drop it in there and then we'll see if we need to go over to Propwire and get more information. We'll start with the free tools. 1903 Court Street, Saginaw. All right, let's see what we get here. So this is 1015 is what Zestimate is. Zestimate's not always accurate. They don't always know what's inside the house. And it doesn't say how many bedrooms it is. From the outside, this picture looks pretty nice though. So estimated sales range here on Zillow is that. And then this is what I was saying is I usually go down here and look at comparable homes. That one sold for 2,200. So that's probably a gift or something. That's weird. This is a 4+2, sold for 90. And this is a 3+2, 1.9K square feet, sold for 116. So then this is the tool that's cool on Zillow that not everybody knows about because you don't always scroll all the way down. But like, here's your comps right there, right? But you can move around on this map and see what else is selling here. You got 2 houses here listed for 64. You got the 107, 138, 110 sold. So you can get a quick idea of what's going on in the neighborhood, 105, 45. And you can click on these and get the information, more information on them, right? So, and then these values here are Zillow's estimated values for the neighboring houses. So 106 is what they're estimating here, 40, 60. So it looks like, what are you trying to do with this? Are you trying to do a wholesale on this? And have you talked to the seller about what they want out of it? Should just get you on the Zoom. I wonder if I can get you on the Zoom somehow. Let's see. Tell me what you're trying to do with this, Denzel, and if you've talked with the seller about it and what their asking price is and stuff. If you know anything about the condition, that's helpful. Copy invitation. Wholesale, yes, and the seller wants 98. All right, so right off the bat there, I would say that that is probably, that's not letting me paste the link in here for the Zoom. I was going to say just jump on here so we can talk live, but YouTube doesn't want me to paste the link. Yeah, I would say off the bat, if they want 98 and it's 110, that's probably one of the leads you're talking about. That's low equity or not much spread, right? So if you've got stuff going over here for one, so we got solds here that we know, right? We can look at these solds. So you got a 110 sold, you got a 107, you got a 138. Over here you got a 139. So I guess this is your house here, right on the corner. And so you can look at these comps and see what the there's a 3+2 1,700 square feet. Looks like a similar house to what you're looking at, right? Sold for 110. You don't want to be looking at asking prices, right? Because asking prices don't mean anything until somebody actually buys it. This is built in 1921. I don't know when yours is built. Here in North Carolina, a lot of people don't want to touch stuff that's built in prior to like 19, whatever the cutoff is, 50, 60, 70. Everybody has their own parameters, but sometimes these are harder to deal with. Maybe in your area, in the Detroit area, there are a lot more houses built around here. So you have more around this price range. You might have more buyers for that. But I wouldn't think you're going to get much. If you get it for 98 and you need to make some money, that means you have to, even if you want to make 5, you'd be at 103 that you're trying to sell it for. And then a flipper, you got to figure that a flipper is going to want to make 20 or 30, right? So if you got it at 98 and you need 5 for you, then you're at 103, right? And if the flipper wants to make, let's say 20, then you're at 123. And then they're going to have to put something into it in terms of repairs and upgrades. And even if it's pretty clean, say they have to put another 20 into it, right? So then you're 98 plus 5 for you is 103 plus 20 for the flipper is 123, right? Plus 20 in repairs is 143. So, that's what you're looking at. And, the flipper is going to be seeing it as a 143 cost, right? Because they want to make their 20 and then they got to put 20 into it. And then the neighborhood doesn't really support that from what I'm seeing, right? It's 138 was the highest one. And you can go through all these, like we're not going through them with a fine tooth comb and looking at every single one of them, but it looks like the prices now we've fallen out of that one, but now we're in just Saginaw, Michigan. It seems like off the top of my head, it's too high of a price that the seller wants. So then you have to try and get them to go down if you want to do this, right? Or else you can try and do a novation, which I'm not great at. Jasper does more novations than I do, but hey, what if I take care of everything for you and I'll put it up on the MLS and you can put it on the flat fee MLS and I'll do all the work and we'll split the profit, right? You could do it that way and then maybe you can get 110 for it and take 5 and give them 5, but you still have a flipper wanting to make, you got to figure out the repairs and what the flipper wants to make in profit on top of that 110, right? Yeah, and if they're not motivated, that makes it even worse, right? So you got to have motivated people in order to get these deals done. People, and so with motivation, you've got to look at the 4 pillars, right? The timeline, condition, price, motivation. So what's their price? Why are they selling it? And what's the timeline? When do they want to leave? Right. And then what's the condition of the property? You do need to go, like we try and ask sellers um, for photos if we can get them, like, hey, do you have any photos of the inside of the property? And then there's all the stuff that you do with walking somebody through the property when you're on the phone, like, can you talk to me about the kitchen? Can you talk to me about the bathroom? When was the last time it was remodeled? What kind of floors does it have? When was the last time you repainted the whole thing? What's the condition of the roof? What's the condition of the HVAC? When's the last time you replaced or repaired the HVAC? When was the last time the roof was done? How about the hot water heater? What's the electrical like? Is it the original electrical stuff from the 1920s, or has it been upgraded to modern standards? All these things are going to affect, what you can do on the dispo end with a buyer, especially, the plumbing and electrical, if they're older from 1921 or for that era, if that stuff has not been upgraded to, PVC and PEX for the plumbing and to the modern Romex for the electrical, then that can be an issue because it's a lot more expensive, right? The flipper is going to come in there and want to upgrade all that stuff probably, unless it's a really what they call lipstick remodel, a very cosmetic flip where you can just go in there and do some paint and clean up and trash removal and a few minor things and then put it back on the market. Then, maybe. But anyway, so thanks for throwing that out there. It's always great to look at properties. I love, trying to analyze properties and see what's going on. But yeah, and then Propwire, if you're going to throw that in Propwire, we could just do that to test another free tool and see if they give you um, any more info. Propwire is a free tool. It was created by Jerry Norton. It's kind of like a competitor to PropStream, which is a subscription-based software that does basically all the same stuff this does. This does everything PropStream does. But I'll put it in here and we'll see what we get. It's 1503 Court Street, sorry. 1503 Court Street, Saginaw. So if you put this in Propwire, they're not coming up with any image. They're saying they think it's worth 127. So I guess that's more than it was. They're saying on the other one, Zillow. Sorry, got distracted there. And they're saying it has an estimated mortgage balance too of 69 on it. So that's part of why, if that's correct, PropStream has this too, where you can look and see if it has a mortgage balance. This is built in 1859, according to this. So that's quite a while back. But you can look here, they have a comps tab. So sometimes, some of these sites will give you some stuff already built in. I know I've looked down here before and they've gotten some pretty good comps for me. So if you're not using this, Denzel, check it out. So here's, I've got to log into it. The account's free, but it's just making me log in to get it. But yeah, so this is actually the same thing that they have in Zillow, but they have all the comps right here. So you can look at any of these comps. 107, 32, 55. So the comps are all over the map here. You do have a 131 and a 157, right? So you can, you want to look at the cost per square foot too, right? If you have a certain square footage on your property, then, you want to take your property and then divide each property by the square footage so you come up with a price per square foot. They're probably doing that for you here too on Propwire, I would guess. Here's your property, 1503 Court, 2444 square feet. And then these are the comparable properties. So this has got a bigger square footage. So it should theoretically be worth more when you're doing price per square foot, right? And then you can, I guess they're not breaking down there it is right here, price per square foot. So you've got 87, 69, 84, 55 for these comps. And then you got these lower ones, 27, whatever. So you can try and take an average of the price per square foot of all these, and then you can apply it to your property. So maybe you could get a little bit more for it because it's bigger. Here's one that's 2144 square feet. And it sold for 122. So that's closer to a comp to yours, right? That gives you a better idea. But yeah, you just want to look at stuff that's close and then do the price per square foot also. And that'll help you get in the ballpark. And then you have to do your math from there and figure out what the flipper's going to want to make, what the repairs are, and what you want to make. And that all has to be built in, to your offer so that you can make the numbers work. Because if you're thinking like a flipper and you're going to want to make, whatever you're going to want to make, 30K is what I usually do in North Carolina. Flipper wants to make 30K on a flip minimum, and then figure the repairs and then deduct that, come up with your total picture. But they're going to put their repairs and their commission, their profit on top of the purchase price they're paying you, right? So it has to make sense within what you're going to get for this. So if you're saying your property was worth 122, right, based on this other comp that's really close in square footage, um, and you'd say the flipper is going to want to make 20, then you're down to 102, and then say the repairs are 20, then you're down to 82, right? And then you want to make some money, then say you only want to make 5, you're down to 77. So 77 would be the max you could pay that seller, right? So that's kind of a backwards way to do it. Just deduct the things from the estimated retail price after repair value. All right. Anybody got anything else? I'm going to wrap it up unless we have any other questions here. But I appreciate you jumping on. And like I said, you can always comment on these videos after the fact in the comments on YouTube, and we'll jump on the answers to your questions if you have questions. Yeah, Denzel, thanks for jumping in. And Jasper will be back next week. We'll have the full thing next week with both of us. But like I said, reach out to us on social media, my website, on YouTube, in the comments, whatever. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have. We want to help everybody succeed. So good luck this week, Denzel. Let us know if we can help you with any deals or any questions you have. All right, take care, y'all. I'm going to sign off too, unless it looks like we have somebody else in here. You got any other questions or anything else before I sign off? Normally we run this on Sundays at noon Eastern time, and it's usually me and my son Jasper, and we'll just talk about the week in business, talk about various strategies and tools and different things that are happening within real estate, and then we answer any listener questions and have discussions about topics. So please join us anytime on a Sunday, and we'd love to see you here. And yeah, have a great week, y'all.